Former Minister for Children Tracey Martin takes aim at Oranga Tamariki's social workers. Former Minister for Children Tracey Martin says the current caliber of social workers at Oranga Tamariki is not good enough. Martin made the comments in reflection of last year's controversial video of Oranga Tamariki workers attempting to uplift a newborn baby from its mother at Hawke's Bay Hospital's maternity unit.
I think the school report would say, good start, shows promise, lots more work to do. Probably 50% of the rise, which is almost 500, is due to the age increase, and then the rest is due to more children coming into care. So we've got more social workers on the front line today than we've had in the last 5 years. So we've made good progress. The other thing that's really positive is that the social workers are staying, so our turnover rate has dropped as well, so I'm very encouraged by that.
It's Māori who are being targeted because there is an undeniable underpinning that Māori cannot be trusted to take care of their own child protection needs. Well, I'm saying that mainstream or white stream has failed dismally, and I do not believe, even with all the might and want and hard work that's going into this current model, I do not believe that they're looking at the very things that they need to be to change.
I just received a phone call. She was stressed, she was crying.
We've come up to uplift baby.
My view is that you cannot uplift.
She's done nothing wrong.
I'm going to ask you both just to leave.
No, we don't trust them.
How can I help you?
Oranga Tamariki have arrived at the hospital.
There's an order there to uplift them, and that's what we enforce on.
Hold on to your baby.
They're trying to make you give baby away.
Don't hand your baby over to them.
This is just a complete fiasco.
They're coming back.
I was actually fighting while trying to fight and saying, no, you can't take her. I ended up crying and couldn't stop crying, and a nurse actually had to come and take baby off me and put her into the car seat, and they just walked off.
What I have said, John, is it is disturbing, but what I don't have is I don't have the full picture, and we really need to understand the full picture so that we can understand what did go well, what was the appropriate action, what could people have done differently, and actually until we have the full facts, I think it's not a great thing to rush to judgment.
What the hell does that tell us? Are you more likely to be uplifted if you are a Māori child?
You are, because you're more likely to be suffering from family violence, to be suffering from poverty, to be suffering from lack of housing, to be suffering from the impacts of drugs and alcohol.
Ko te ingoa hoki o te manatū e tohea nei.
I've chosen no longer to use the term Oranga Tamariki to describe the Ministry of Vulnerable Children, because they don't deserve those beautiful words.
We can't change the past. What we can do is we can change the future.
For many, these images are distressing to watch.
We've come up to execute a warrant to uplift baby.
A young mum clinging desperately to her newborn as Oranga Tamariki make 3 attempts to uplift her baby.
It's not acceptable to remove a baby straight away from the baby's mum. What kind of people do that, and for what reason?
The investigation revealed 3 Māori infants a week are uplifted from their mothers. Community leaders are calling for it to end.
The system that we are under, it's a pālangi one. We don't treat our peeps like that. It's shattering. It'll have a long-term effect, long after the children have grown up, because the children will carry that in them, that memory. It'll even turn them against their parents.
When they think about placements, they're thinking about taking them away from us. They're not thinking about actually that place we're putting them in, how are we going to ensure that they are not going to be abused. Well, they can't guarantee us that.
Where should those children be placed?
Well, whānau, within their families.
The video has prompted 3 separate reviews into Oranga Tamariki's processes by Children's Commissioner Andrew Beecroft, Minister for Children Tracey Martin, and now Chief Ombudsman Peter Boshier. The Children's Commission says their review will focus on Māori infants to age 0 to 3 months old.
This will be a focused, very deep investigation. We'll be visiting Oranga Tamariki sites, speaking to mothers, wider whānau, hapu and iwi, speaking to those involved. It's going to take 4 or 5 months to do it really well, but we think it's the right place to start. There'll be learnings for the whole system, and as I say, the stats are pretty powerful. That's where we should start.
It's not the first time Oranga Tamariki, previously known as Child, Youth and Family or CYFS, has come under scrutiny. In 2017, the state agency underwent an overhaul at a cost of $17 million. Now Māori and Pacific community leaders and lawyers are calling for another restructure.
What we need to make happen and what we need to ensure is that Māori are at the beginning of all of those conversations. That Pasifika, where possible, are at the beginning of all of those conversations. And we need to be part of the policy making, the discussions, the decision making, and then the implementation of those policies and procedures.
What is clear is that a revolution is required in the way we deal with children, infants and young people who are at risk of serious harm within their own family. Let's make no mistake, we've got nowhere near there yet.
For Tingilau Ness, the solution lies within communities, something he's witnessing firsthand. Here at Mangere East Community Centre, he says parenting workshops are helping whānau for the better.
It's for the parents. We teach them parenting skills. It's a 14-week course.
Do you think that the government is better off investing in programs like this?
Yes, definitely, definitely, because it's free, for the parents. And it's continuing education, and it's a safe place, and it's a kind of wraparound service, because when they finish the 14-week, we don't finish there, we're in touch.
We know best how to look after our own. And when you remove our children, our tamaiti from us, you're removing them from their hearts and souls. And we want the state to understand that.
What about when it comes to family court orders?
Family court orders, so the judges or the court are looking at the information that's presented to them. What we need to be worried about is actually how that information comes to them and based on whose knowledge and whose assessment. And usually that is not done by whānau or iwi. That's usually done by a social worker that works for the state.
We want to try to avoid the last urgent rush for quick and instant and profoundly impacting decisions on family. Really what I want to see is much earlier, preventive wraparound work, and for Indigenous Māori babies involving whānau, hapu and iwi. Now that's the model. Mind you, we had it back in '89, a big vision for that happening. It didn't happen. That's why I say this time we've got a second chance for a revolution. Let's commit ourselves to making sure it happens.
Oranga Tamariki and Ngāti Kahungunu will come together with Ngāti Kahungunu leading the process to develop early intervention, intensive intervention services for not just Ngāti Kahungunu, but those that are in this rohi who need that support.
I hui tahi te iwi o Ngāti Kahungunu me ngā māngai o te kāwanatanga ki te whakatau I tētahi ara hou, hei whai mā Oranga Tamariki I roto I a rātou mahi.
We're earnest as a iwi about it. I know that our other iwi are earnest about it too, so we'll be putting our shoulders right into it to ensure that our whānau are safe at the end of the day.
Numbers of Māori in state care overall have continued to increase whilst the Pākehā have come down. What I want to know is that the practices, the policies, the processes are fit for purpose.
She said the video highlighted that there is both really good social worker practice and really lousy social worker practice in this country. We've got 16 providers. There's a huge variation of the way that our social workers are trained, and the caliber of many of our social workers is not good enough, and I'll tell you what, you'll hear people scream now that I've said that out loud, she said. Martin said nobody in the current government had responsibility for social worker training, but it needed to be addressed. The reason why the government did not have any influence over social worker training was because it was actually the responsibility of the Social Worker Registration Board to set the standards by which they would register social workers, she said. The problem is, it's 100% funded by social workers, it's had this legislation put on them, they have no resourcing for policy development, or even to influence and set those standards. So this government, if I was making one recommendation, is give a minister responsibility to argue for a budget bid for a time-limited resource for the Social Worker Registration Board to create the policy and the standards that we're going to hold all social workers in this country. She said she held the delegation for social worker training as the Associate Minister for Education, but was not able to make progress. I tried to have conversations with Tertiary Education Commission, found that particularly difficult, and it took 3 years to realize that why I was meeting those barriers was because the tool was actually over here with the Social Worker Registration Board.